right, I'd like to call this meeting to order, please. It is 7 o'clock and let's call to order. Roll call. Bill Bowen?
Here.
Holly Naylor? Here. Nancy Russell? Here. Kim Armstrong? Here. Janine? Becky? Here. And John Smith is here. Let's say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
I can second, but I wanted to make a correction, or just to add to the agenda,
Okay.
to pull the report from Personnel Committee down to, I guess, G for discussion.
Any other? So we have a motion on the floor by Bill, seconded by Nancy, but also to add to pull the report from personnel and add it to item G. Bill? Roll call to approve the agenda with the change.
So yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The library director's report, sorry.
That's okay. I hope everybody got a chance to look at it. The first page is just the budget timeline. I shared that the last few years and people found it helpful. We're already mid-budget. I've got one almost ready to present. We're also looking at an amendment to this year's budget later, so I won't belabor that part, but this is just dates. I like to put when they're due for me, really, so it's not that they're due, but that's when you can expect to see these things, just so I don't get behind the ball. So we're in the February-March time period. So Finance Committee will see the personnel budget and the improvement fund budget with finance next month. I already discussed some of that this month in the minutes that you'll see, but just so you know how we'll get to June 18th. And hopefully have a good plan by then. So are there any questions about that? I feel like you've all seen it at least once, so ask them when you get them because it's kind of every month now that we talk. One update about staffing is we do have signed agreements from the people we offer jobs to. So end of February, I think February 24th or 25th, we'll have a new part-time librarian starting. Rebecca Hudzik Gordon is returning to the library. She used to work with the library and took a few years off with an increasing family and is happy to come back. She's been working for us as a sub, so I'm excited to have her back. She's really good. She's well loved in the community. So she'll be starting at the end of the month part-time, and that filled the intern position that Nina Butts had for a few years. So I'm excited. It's less hours, 20 hours a week, but she is a mid-career librarian and has a lot of experience in the area. And then the team librarian will start on March the 3rd. And we had 10 applicants and we narrowed it down. We have second interviews and first name is Morgan. I don't remember the last name and I will get that, but Reeves. She's coming from out of state. No, she lives in Ann Arbor now, but recently moved there and I'll introduce her once she starts, but she's worked in Iowa and Ohio as a librarian. So I'm excited about those new hires, and I mentioned we have a new circ assistant, so there's been some HR work that we've been doing, and I emailed the board a few days ago, maybe yesterday, it feels like a week ago. The youth department has been down 70 hours, and then they've had a bunch of sicknesses, so I think it will help to get those filled, but they still have to train, so it's not like you can just stick somebody, although Rebecca has been here a long time, but not on staff, so I'm hoping that they'll be out from underneath managing 2 desks down 2 people's hires. So I think that they will be happy to have those people join. Any questions about the rest of the report? I don't want to belabor it. There's a lot in here. And a lot of it you've already seen in the minutes that were in the packet. So the main thing I wanted to talk about tonight are 2 things. The Cromaine Commons Heritage Gardens project that we talked about last month that was delayed. I hope to have a second plan for you to see tonight. And I had emailed the board earlier this week. So I need to temperature check the board's feelings. We're starting to, I haven't been able to find a design that will meet the needs of the school. So I need to know if the board is happy to have me keep trying to get one and going back and forth, or if we need to sit down as a group and reconceive what we're doing. And I don't exactly know what you need to help make that decision, because we've redesigned it with a bus loop, but now the concern is there's not enough parking.
Where's the concern coming from, not enough parking?
From Carol, who's running the building right now, and Matt. The building has changed since when we started the project. It was mostly daycare then, and now it is a 4-year-old preschool. So now they have about 150 families every day, where before it wasn't that many. So I don't think the concerns are invalid. And I hate to push because we said we were gonna do something to not make it useful. But it's hard to design something for somebody else. So I'm not sure.
So
Yeah.
have they specified how many parking spaces they would expect? Because it's very obviously not going to be where it has spread to.
Yes. Well, there's a way to ask that question, and I've asked like what would be ideal and what would be minimal.
Okay.
Okay. So the minimum acceptable would be 25 to 30, which technically right now we're only providing 20. They're just parking all over the lawn. They'd like 50, but again, we're not at that point. They have investigated with using the school, or not school, the church parking, which the church has agreed to let them temporarily park there when we've dug it all up, but not long term. So they're investigating other alternatives, but I don't know what they're gonna find. Right? So the plans that I've been giving them, you know, we're spending more money and I'm doing all that, like what I'm even waiting to hear back on today is vastly different than what you've seen. So I feel like I need to put that in front of everybody. So I'd like to have an ad hoc committee meeting at least, and then decide in that group and give you lots more info. Maybe invite Matt and Carol to come to that group, because they've been working with me, but it's just, and we're behind the ball on this because, right?
So we
And I-
paid twice though, right, for
Yeah.
designs.
Well, we paid for the original, and now we're paying, and we will pay
And we'll
as
pay
we go
for
forward.
third.
So that's the question. I mean, I have lots of questions that can seem scary, like, should they buy it back from us and design what they need? Should we cut it in half and do all these things? And I don't know how creative to get without the board knowing I'm going creative. So I'd like to schedule in the next week or so an ad hoc committee and really just lay everything out, show you everything. I had hoped to just come and be like, we've agreed to something, right? But I don't find that it's obstructive on the part of the school. I think their needs are valid. It's just strange to own a property you're not really using for it. So again, I think we can still do it. I hear that contractor that we were interested in is still hanging on to here. How long that'll last, I don't know. We could still do it again this year if we want to. It's just becoming more and more a different design, so I just want to like talk. We can still do, my main goal is the pavilion and the park play structure that we have the grant for. It might be less open space and less trees, that'd be okay. I just don't want to just keep charging for iterations that no one's.
So
So,
sorry, how many parking spots are there now? Did you say 20?
well, it's really undefined. There's a concrete slab you can get 20 cars
Okay.
onto, but people just park wherever they want.
I've seen,
Yeah.
yeah, so. okay.
So some days there's
Right.
30 or more out there.
So you would say, like, there's 30 cars, you have seen 30 cars parked out there-ish. And we can talk about that.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So I think my instinct is I would like the support of the committee to hash the things out. So I don't feel like I'm making decisions about approval. Sounds like they're in agreement.
Very much so.
I was feeling a little despondent the last few days because I was hoping to have something, but I have had good communication from Sue and Julian, who are the ones we're paying, so that's good. They're being very creative. They're coming up with, and they're very responsive. And it takes a few days for things to get back from the school, and this is my hot button issue, not theirs. So I just wanna, I don't know.
Do you know how far back this is pushing our project?
We would need a concept that the school in writing says is acceptable and would meet their needs. And then it's 8 to 12 weeks from that day, which we haven't hit yet. So, and that would be to where we can tell the contractors to bid.
Yeah,
So it's a significant. Yeah, it is, but I think that, I thought it through, I've talked to a number of people about it. I don't want to charge ahead because I said I would, and then have the same constituents that are taxpayers unable to really use the space. And that's where I think we need to be more creative with what's really needed and what we can really do. So, and that's where I can't just go off. I can't sell the property without talking to you all, or I can't do different things. So I want to get in the room and decide like what we're looking at.
In ABC too, in the ad hoc committee, how is it currently?
Yeah.
Just leave it as is. But no, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just, that could be.
Yeah.
What is the attitude of the current contractor in terms of how much leeway, how much time is he willing or she?
Well, we didn't award
delay?
last month. So the one that we were interested in and had put in the packet that we were interested in, they had said they could hold on for a few months, and now they're like, well, it depends. And contractors, it's a lot of subcontracting, so I think they're local, they live here. But the longer you delay, the less chance you get things. But again, and I'm hearing that third party, I'm hearing that through Sue Grissom, so, but she does call them after we meet and check in with them. So I can tell you, I'm hearing they're open to trying to fit us in. I don't think they're waiting there for their bills, so I'm sure they're taking on other projects at this point, so. Because we were gonna start next month, or whatever it felt.
So is it more realistic to think that this project won't begin until next year?
I still think there's a chance for this year, but it really depends on what we decide as a group we're willing to do for the schools, or what they can do, and if we change the plan completely, like you take over this part and we'll do this part, that'll take a while, because as you know, with boards, you have to give them time to learn about it, you have to give them time to vote on things, so that can happen if we have to go like a radically different direction.
Just wait and see.
All right, so I'll reach out and we'll try to get something this next week, perhaps. Okay.
That'd be good.
Thank you for that, because I think more heads are better than one, and I don't want to do things that aren't approved.
If it comes down to it, delay until next year rather than rushing into something that might end up being a disaster.
And we can't.
Right.
I mean, at this point, we can't legally do it without this, or I would have pushed through. Right, so,
We'll do it right.
yeah. And waiting a year would, it's not like we can't function the way we've been functioning, it's just a
Right.
disappointment, so. That's good, it's good to get your tone, because I do worry. I have one other question, and then I think you can ask me any questions based on the report. Nope, I think that's it. The rest will come up in the process. That was my main focus for making decisions. So thank you for that support.
Any other questions? Director's report? Thank you. Thanks for all you do. Moving on, discussion decision, budget amending 25-26 operating budget. Nancy, talk about this, is there?
Sure, Finance Committee went over this with Sarah, and really what this is balancing our budget and doing due diligence so that we don't get to the end of the year and have a whole bunch of line items that are out of line. And there's a number of expenditures that need to be adjusted, and it's in your packet, and then a proposed, she's really got it laid out very nicely in your packet, how we're going to end up. And it's basically a wash with our investment funds. So anyway, Finance Committee is recommending the adoption of both modification to the improvement fund and to the operating.
Is there a motion on the floor to, we need to kind of take these separately here for the operating budget?
Yeah, so.
Okay.
Second.
Motion on the floor for, to amend and adopt the operating budget. Motion by Holly, second by Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Is there a motion on the floor to do the amending of the improvement budget?
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor is for resolution 2026-07 to amend the operating and improvement budget. Motion by Bill, second by Nancy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Unanimous. Moving on to review the policies. Policy 6020, purchasing finance. It looks like there are no changes to 6020. Questions, comments, discussions?
So these are finance policies, so we reviewed all of them, the three of them. And also legal counsel reviewed 6026 and had no suggestions for any language changes. So Finance Committee would recommend that we roll forward, I don't know what you call it. Accept them as is.
Yep, review with no changes, that's all.
Thank you. That was better.
I don't really think that we need a motion on the floor since there's no changes to these policies at this point. So that will be for 6020, 6025, and 6026. Next up will be policy 8000, policy 8001, and policy 8002. These all come from Personnel Committee. These three particular, and I'll talk about this since head of personnel, there were no changes with these three policies. For legal counsel as well, for 8000, 8001, 8002. So for these, I would say the board is okay to accept with no changes. So 8003. the discussion for that. So with 8,003, if you look at the changes, this was recommended for legal counsel as well. So one of the suggestions here under the agenda would be to have the call to public and then have the information board comments after call to public. Per legal counsel with this, just so the community is aware of this as well, when the board is here, we are doing board business. The board cannot address call to public. When you come and you speak at call to public, it's just policy, it's just how it is. So a suggestion that we had, if we kind of switch some things in the agenda to maybe do call to public and then information for the board comments, perhaps with this change, the board might be able to make a comment after call to public, maybe some issues if they choose to do so. That was a suggestion that we had in, for this policy at 8,003. Just
It's reasonable, that's what we do over at Metro Park with that
Sure.
specific intent.
right. But the board isn't obligated to comment either.
That's right.
Okay, so. Is there a motion on the floor to accept policy 8,003 as written with the changes?
Excuse me, does that include the new formatting for the sign-in sheet? Or is that
No,
separate?
we're just on the 003.
Okay, so that's separate. Right.
Right, yep.
So moved.
Second. So motion on the floor for policy 8,003 by Bill, second by Becky. To accept policy with the two changes. Roll call vote this. Bill?
Yes.
Becky, or Becky, sorry. Becky?
Yes.
Holly?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Kim? Yes. And I'm a yes, motion passes. Okay. Next up is policy 8004. And there were quite a lot of changes with this policy. Again, this policy, at the personnel committee, just so the public is aware as well, with these policies, with making these changes, this was per consultation with legal as well for making some changes or changing things within these policies. So for 8,004, for detailed procedures for addressing the board, please see 8015 public comment policy. So to strike that language for those pages, because it's already written in another policy.
So we're probably gonna need to discuss them together before voting.
Sure. So, right.
So I do have a question. So this, on the rotation, this policy comes up usually in March, and then the next one, 8013, usually comes out in November. So I was just curious as to why we're doing that now instead of our usual schedule.
We had some questions. I was unclear. I had received some correspondence and I was unclear if the patrons aren't present, if the verbiage should be included in the minutes and I think so we wanted further counsel from our attorney just to clarify some things, and then she clarified a lot actually, so.
Okay, and that's where that came up, and that's why all these changes at this point. For legal counsel, it was great that she was at the meeting, a lot of changes, and kind of had stated, here's what other libraries are doing, here's some suggestions that she would have to do it at this time. And that did come about with correspondence as well.
So the big change then is that a person can submit written comments to the board secretary prior to the start of the meeting, right?
They always could.
Yeah, and but written materials are not necessarily gonna go in the minutes. Matter of fact, they're not going to go in the minutes.
It's up to the board to do, yes,
At the board's discretion.
at the board's
But
discretion.
for the striking of the language, it leaves it out.
So at the board's discretion, when will that be decided? Like, are we going to come up with a plan that we always apply, or will that be discussed at every meeting where something has been?
That's kind of what we're talking about, right? That's kind of what I wanted to talk about too. You know, I know that Anne had said that most of the institutions will just say, you know, call to public, this person's fault. And they don't usually, because it gets to be a lot, and it kind of takes away from what is supposed to be, you know, going into the minutes from the meeting. So that's what I took from that, you know, from council, so.
As well. Her suggestion too was just looking at just for the changes for that as well. So when patron, you know, come to call the public, that doesn't necessarily have to be word for word with the minutes. Hence, she also suggested, we kind of have to talk about all of these policies together in that as well, okay? That is why she suggested with changing our cards as well. Okay, so it's just a matter of, and just so the public is aware as well, we've had correspondence about this from different things, about people being doxxed or what have you. Board members have been doxxed as well, so threatened, and board members have been threatened as well. So with that, so what legal has told us as well is to perhaps just change our call to public forms by simply putting on the date that you spoke, your name, and the reason for putting the name is the board needs to know who we're addressing, and as we never really had you fill out your full address, but we're just asking for city or township. And the reason why the board would be asking for city or township is so that we are so that we are aware of who is speaking from which township. Are you from the Cromaine Library area? You don't have to be from Cromaine Library area to speak at call to public. This just helps the board to determine where are you from, okay? You can be from Ohio and come and speak at our call to public, okay? So that's just what we were recommended by legal counsel. Don't have to put the full address, just looking to put your name and what township or city that you're from.
So are we talking about?
Kind of all of them,
Yeah.
with all of it, they're all together.
I'd like to propose that we strike the phone or email off of the call to the public form. I don't believe we do anything with that information, and there's no need to.
Right, and with the,
What did you say?
To remove the phone or email line.
it is the new form, do we have a copy
Yeah,
of
it's
it?
on the new one.
Right,
It is
on the-
on.
oh, it is on the new form.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, yeah, we,
Oh,
okay.
The one I have.
okay. Agreed.
Okay, so we move that. The other major change was, we removed the language about it'll go verbatim into the minutes if it's in writing.
Correct.
That was on this form, and we took that off because we don't have to, and that will make, we had added that when I was new because we were getting feedback that people didn't say what we said they said, so if we're not gonna say what they said, it won't matter. Right?
Right,
Is that, okay? That was the discussion.
right.
It'll
And
be-
meetings are recorded, so they
Yes.
can hear,
Then
they're
if you
recorded
made a
now.
statement, you can go look at it. I guess.
Right.
So one other comment that came in afterwards was that the public maybe wouldn't necessarily want to have their comments recorded for whatever reason, their own protection. And I guess that we should be able to be really transparent about that and say, you don't have to. We could delete it from the recording.
Well, I think that would be actually difficult because as I understand it, public meetings can be recorded by anyone in the audience.
That's right, they can, it's,
And
legally, they have to.
so I think if we asked if we need to, no, we could offer to provide that. I just don't have staff or editing software to do it because I'm the one doing
I
it.
don't think that would be appropriate to do, because these meetings are allowed to be recorded.
Yeah.
And because of that, if someone makes a public comment, it becomes part of the recorded record. And it should stand as such. It's that way in virtually all public meetings.
Correct.
My only question for the group that I've thought of since we met, and I don't know the answer, so I'm just asking. If we take comments before the meeting, but we're not gonna put them in the record, and the person can't come or won't, you know, for whatever reason.
That's considered board correspondence.
Okay.
Right, because if they're not here, they cannot respond to a call to public. That's what the call to public is for. So if they cannot be here, and if they do not want to be on record.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Right, the
Right.
resolution, the only resolution to that is not speak on the record.
It's send correspondence.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, that's it.
that closes that.
That's how you, that is the true resolution. If you do not want to speak on record, just,
Don't.
you don't.
I just had one correction too in 8015 while we're,
Sure.
but it was section 3, it just was down there, must provide their name and address. We need to strike address then, but city or
Which
township.
one, which letter?
B, yeah, down, it's second to the last sentence.
Right, strike address and put city or township.
Yeah, put city or township in which they reside. And, I mean, we have on there where they can check off whether or not they are within the library district. If we want to stay consistent with
Okay.
the forms, we should probably add that in there as well.
So that's asking them to say it when they start. My name's Sarah, I'm
I'm from,
from. Okay.
yes, and then we
Right.
know that they're from,
So
either from our area
each
or
speaker
not.
must provide their name and city or township?
Right,
Right.
in which they reside, right.
So I have a question about the word must, right, because we can't legally prohibit somebody from speak, so are asked to provide.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
We did talk with the lawyer about
Right.
that too, so that actually makes sense, because it was a question,
Right.
right?
And it just, she did say though too, then that would be up to us whether or not.
She did also say with that too, it's up to us as a board, it's up to us I'm not gonna deny people to speak at call public, you know, but it's just, it's very, and legal had said too, it's just like you're addressing who, you know, and there's some people that just won't even give their name, and that's very hard as a board. Who am I speaking with? I like to address the person as their name and that as well. And it helps the board as well for what township they're from, to know if they are, you know, helps for board decisions here. We are elected by the community, and just to get a better understanding of that, where you're from.
But it's reasonable to expect that.
Right.
In order to, because if a person isn't going to name themselves or where they're from, then their comments are, it's fair game for us to ignore everything they say.
Right, and that's what legal had
I don't
said.
agree with the ignore what they say.
Well, actually,
Well,
we
not,
can.
ignore, but legal had said, it's just, it's very hard for a board to.
Yeah, I like it
Right,
when people share
right.
their name and
Correct,
that they're a community member, but.
but they would not be denied to speak.
Right, right.
Right.
And do you wanna suggest the next question on the form as well? Do you live within the boundaries of the district?
Well, that's on that's,
Form.
yep, and I think that's a good idea.
One of the things I struggle with just when I'm helping people get cards is they'll say, I live in Howell.
Right.
Like your church is in Howell, but you're in the district. You know what I mean? Like that's so I don't know if it's useful to us to not ask that if that's our goal.
Right.
And I say your goal.
We may be in hell, but we identify as Hartland.
Right? Like that's
Right.
that's the question. And I don't know that it matters, to me. Because also people can be patrons and not in the district. So I just thought that'd be worth, that's why we added that part there.
And knowing where they're from, just because they're not in our specific area, doesn't mean they do not have value. As
Oh,
long as
correct.
they're identifying
Yeah.
why they are addressing their concerns or comments or pleasure or whatever else.
Another suggestion, because we're kind of like going through all of these, in 8015, the one thing was all signs are prohibited in the board meetings. This helps for several things, and again, this was per legal counsel. There were some meetings in the past where people were holding up signs and people couldn't see, people behind them or what have you as well, for that as well. So that is another item on here as well. All signs are prohibited in the meetings, and the legal had said that this is common practice for meetings.
Really, it's not, she had actually addressed that.
Yeah, she-
point?
she
Okay, because
did.
I always had thought that was
Right.
an Open Meetings Act, that you couldn't, stop people from
Right.
bringing signs.
That's where we got that's where, when we discussed it last year, I looked at the Opens Meeting Act handbook, and I interpreted it that way, but Ann told us it's acceptable to put it in your policy.
It is.
Yes, so it's both and, but you can restrict per policy. Right?
Yeah, and I just had a question, so, okay, so 8015, this is new, right? Right. And so Ann helped, or was part of the drafting of all this, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
100%.
and when you're looking at it, it's
Yes.
her boilerplate from Foster Swift, the yellow is
Yes.
what we added.
Okay,
Yes.
So it's kind of confusing, because it's not like it's a change, but,
yeah,
well, and all signs isn't that we added, we discussed it.
Mhm.
Because we did say, we discussed that last year, and this is where we came down. The E highlight wasn't in the boilerplate, but we thought prior would be good, not after. And B's highlight was something Kim came up with that would be helpful for like making it clear.
Right, and it should be noted that if a written document is presented before the start of the meeting, if the person is not here, that's not an eligible thing to become part of the minutes.
She actually disagreed with you on that, because we did discuss that at length. Correct?
Well,
She, the lawyer that we talked to, said that you have to take it if you're given it, and it's in your policy. We don't have to read it.
we don't have to read it, but we need to take the correspondence. Correct.
Right.
We take the
Oh,
correspondence.
okay, right,
Yes.
right, that
Of
makes
course. Right,
complete
right.
sense,
Of
right,
course.
right, because
Yes.
if they're not there, you do not have. to.
Correct. We of course
Yes.
take the correspondence.
Right, that's what I'm speaking
Well,
of.
actually, that was the reason I pulled out that item, was the correspondence, because with the striking of the language and the rescinding of the 13 policy, we don't have anything to address our correspondence now. It's sort of left hanging out there. So like, what do we do when, just leaving the secretary position, I was really sensitive to getting any kind of information in writing that I would not respond to it, because I don't speak for the board, but to send it to Sarah, and then she would distribute it to the entire board, so that we all had eyes on it, which is the way I think it should be. But I think the way our policies are coming out with the rescinding of that policy of 13, we don't have one that says, what do we do with this now?
Yeah, I'm not comfortable not having something written, at least like for so again, it says, library board may determine in its sole discretion how public comments should be summarized. And I think for full transparency, whether it's a policy or a written procedure or something, like if somebody asks, what do? We should have an answer, right? That is clear and applied across the board. So if we're, so I would agree that we have something.
Okay. Yeah, because I think Nancy, what you're saying, we had it.
Yeah,
It's
it was the second paragraph in that 13.
Which one?
Which one? Nancy?
The one,
13.
Oh,
And I think as a board, we should be encouraging patron participation. I mean, we as a board work for our patrons and people who pay taxes here. And so we should be encouraging all forms of communication, whether it's emails or letters. I mean, I feel like, you know, it's really hard for a lot of people to come to, physically, to come to a meeting. So it's an unreasonable expectation that that's the only avenue to address the board, so. So I think it behooves us to have a very clear, welcoming, policy about correspondence.
The solution that Metro Parks undertook was to have the meetings broadcast via internet so that people can respond to the call of the public.
But I mean, not everybody can be here at 7 o'clock.
No, you can do that from home.
Right, but people work or they have kids that are putting to bed, like, that doesn't guarantee that you can participate
You mean
at
like
a
a
set
Zoom,
time.
a Zoom call, is that?
Yeah, Zoom.
Like a Zoom?
Yeah, there, all of our meetings are broadcast via the internet and people can respond to call the public.
So we did that for a little while when
Right.
it kind of,
And it didn't work so well with the communication, and then we didn't want to spend $10,000 on equipment to do that. And then we're finding after COVID and that too, it was better to come to a meeting in person as other libraries were doing that.
yeah, and we had questions about, so if somebody can like speak over Zoom, I know that they don't do that at the school board meetings, right? If
Right,
you're watching.
they
you
just
can't.
broadcast.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like we're doing.
Right, like we do.
And what
And
I'm saying is
township as
that
well.
what we did is we made allowance so that people can, there's a little yellow hand they raise if they want to make comment.
Right, right.
And really simple process, really simple procedure.
Mhm.
So the public in general does not have to travel
Right,
to where we meet at. And especially at Metro Park, that becomes important because during the warmer months, we have our meetings in different parks.
sure,
And so one of them is almost 2 hours away, so,
understandable.
yes.
Great. So, oh, no, go ahead. So,
Yeah, so,
so,
okay, so I'm backing up, so the 813
mhm,
is the correspondence.
mhm. Would you like that to go back to committee? Do you feel like that has to go back to committee at this point?
Well, I think we have to have something,
Okay.
I mean, as
Yeah.
secretary, I feel for Kim, she's gonna get correspondence in, she needs to know how the board wants to deal with.
Right, it
correspondence.
makes sense to refer that back to committee and come up with an answer, see.
Yeah.
And can it also go back to committee is it 3I, how comments will be summarized, just to have.
For which one?
So
803?
8015, number 3, item I. Library board may determine how public comments will be summarized in meeting minutes.
And should we state in there, they won't, or they will, or like? just-
Whatever
So it doesn't have to be every meeting decision?
I would prefer not to have to go through every email at every meeting and decide if we're going to include it that month. And I think that opens a danger to being inconsistent.
Right. So we should take policy 8013 and 8015. Specifically, item 1, number 3, item I, back to committee.
That's get lost in the numbers.
That's
And there was
right.
there was an edit to B as well that I wrote down already, so we could come back with like a,
And that was 8004, correct?
no, this page 18 or 15,
15.
I had suggested.
Item B.
Yeah, so B and I on
Item
15.
T, item I. So 8013, 8015, back to committee for those changes. And then bring it back to the board, March for a vote.
Whatever,
Through recommendation from committee.
apart from the board choosing how to summarize public comments, what other, just out of curiosity, what other avenues would we pursue for a summary?
On how to summarize in the minutes.
We'd rather, it would be the board's discretion to do that, to summarize
Well, that's probably what we'll take to committee right now, we'll come back and we'll
Right.
discuss it then, maybe, you know.
So
Right.
we did used to try to summarize, and some members of the public felt that the summaries weren't accurate. and
Right.
Gave us that feedback. So then we went to, okay, we'll take we'll take written statements, because then that is their word. But I think the other option is that it is, you know, called to the public, people spoke.
Five people
and-
spoke, or you could say names spoke, and if you're interested, you could watch the video.
Right, and then, and not add the comments, that probably is the ideal way to do it, it minimizes exposure on both sides.
We didn't have a recording when we were doing that, and so that could
Right.
work as an option, and it would reduce the burden on staff.
Well, that is what Ann said that most.
Right.
That's what I was saying, she said
They
most.
spoke. And you
Right.
don't have to be recording it to do that, you can still do it if you're not recording it. We have that benefit, but if you take it away, it's not considered bad. It would still, if it's just correspondence, what do you do with it? I guess you just note that you received correspondence from me.
That's what you have to do.
Yeah,
Right,
You
and that
notate,
makes it a public document, it's
Right.
like if somebody really wants to know, you could.
notate without response.
receive correspondence from the person, right.
Also, I noted under H, a departure from our usual,
Which policy, which one?
the one we're looking at.
Or
80.
H, it's talking about if you're speaking on more than one individuals we have, they must state as such at the beginning of their comment and shall be entitled to 1 5-minute time during public comment. I don't know that we've ever done that, have we? I mean, not that I recall.
Right, again, this was from Ann.
Yeah, but that's why I'm bringing it up.
Right, so this was for,
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
Is
that's a great,
What we
right.
want, or, you know, is it, I don't know, is that workable?
So question item H as well, when it goes back to. Right. Do we need that, is that what you're, right, or, because we could probably,
I think it makes sense if you're summarizing multiple views, because the point is to try to save time by.
It does make
Right.
sense, but we've never done it, so if it's gonna be our policy, we should,
right,
you know, that.
I
right,
don't know if I remember any groups, the group identified as a group.
right.
Not of late, but I do know it was in the old policy that they could do it as a group, I just don't know if there's extra.
So I had, yeah,
Mhm.
One other change on that note was that and I can't find it on my papers, the old policy, but, we had something in there that we could limit it to 15 minutes. And I've never
Correct.
seen it done, and she did say that we should take that out,
Right,
because we haven't done that, even though it has been longer, and it would be a violation of free speech. So that's one thing that came out.
and that's not in this current, right. Mhm. So, okay, so 803, were there changes with?
closing and the library.
We're closing, we're
Bye,
out of here,
everybody.
we're done.
That's our new phone system.
Right.
Yeah.
8003 and 8004, there were no changes, right? Or there were no 8004.
8004 has this, the strike.
Right.
So can you bring that one back and bring these, just because I.
8004?
That's something before we have
8004?
something else, yes.
As well? Okay, so 804 back to committee.
And then maybe a clean copy of the
And
calls
804.
of the cover.
So 803, the only change was is to change the agenda, right? So in 8003, the only change there was to change the agenda, 2 items, to put call the public and then have the board after that. Is any more discussion on that one, that we could vote on that policy tonight?
No,
The only-
it's
the only-
actually a sensible move.
Yeah, the only change there was to just kind of switch the agenda a little bit and do that.
That way, it allows the board members to speak rather than as a member of the public and leaving our chair in order to do it, to speak as a board member. And it's sensible.
You already voted on that.
Yeah, we did vote.
803, we
Yes.
voted with this, so we're all good there. Okay, so let's take 8004, 8013, 8015 back to committee, clean copies, bring it back, and then, discuss decision in March. Is everyone good with that? Yeah? Okay. Okay, so then let's move on to update to the call to public request form that was kind of discussed. Do you want to take that back to committee with a clean copy as well as to how that should look?
And the suggestion was take off the contact info.
Take off the phone and email. That's okay, update on the call to public. Yeah, so that will go back to committee as well. Any other discussion on these policies at this point?
No, Janine, you as the president, if you wanted to, if someone was commenting and you wanted further information, you could always ask them to provide you with their phone number or email address to correspond after the fact. Not for them to give it in public, but
Right,
so that
right,
you, so that you could reach out to them.
right.
We could put
If they-
optional, like, we could put optional
But if-
instead of
if-
removing it, just in case somebody wanted a response back, but.
I think it's better not to have the phone number and email on.
Right.
Because someone could, take a phone, take a picture of it and disseminate in, whereas they may try to say that someone on the board disseminated, it actually could have been a person, patron who did it. And it was, from everyone that I saw come through, it was virtually impossible for a board member to disseminate information because they were given to us right before call to public, and then they were collected by the recording secretary right after the meeting.
Correct,
And so there was no moment for shenanigans.
correct.
And
Good to address that.
So we're, taking it off, okay.
yeah, I would-
And
I
we'll
would
take that
sug- I
back
would
to committee and
suggest you
take that off, that's a great suggestion.
It's not
Right.
pertinent, it's not relevant.
Right.
And it does protect them, and there's.
But to come back to, with a clean copy, so how that would look at March. Okay. Coffee chats with the board update, I'm gonna let Becky handle this.
All right, so, we hosted 2 sessions. We had a morning session and an evening session to accommodate, different schedules. We hosted 6 guests all together. The sessions, they were not meetings, they did not have an agenda, minutes were not taken. It was, an opportunity for dialogue between the board members and our guests. Trustees co-hosted the sessions. Comments were made from the individual trustees' perspectives, and we did not represent the board at all, so it was everything that was just individualized. We didn't have enough members of the board present to produce a quorum, so there was definitely no voting on issues, and there was definitely no issues or anything that we were presenting as a board or speaking for the board on behalf of the board. We did say if inadvertently or unintentionally somebody said anything incorrect, precedent was that any of the official policies, procedures, directive, everything would supersede anything that was said inside of the chat. And so overall, I believe that the sessions were positive. It was a chance to have one-on-one conversation and dialogue, and to have to give the public the opportunity to come in and speak with us. And topics ranged. As I said, we had a broad set of topics: materials of election policy, the book challenge, vendor procurement processes and attorney selections, the Cromaine Commons, Heritage Gardens. We continuously ask for feedback during these sessions. Attendees were appreciative to have the opportunity to ask questions, provide input, feedback, receive clarification on things that they heard, and overall have a chance to voice concerns in a non-meeting setting. Trustees were appreciative to have the opportunity to provide information and clarification on a variety of topics. Feedback included that morning and evening sessions were good to accommodate the schedules, and it was an opportunity to speak directly to the trustees. So my co-host, if anything to add or additional input, we would welcome it. You're good? All right. We are scheduling, sorry. Good, all right. We are scheduling a couple more sessions. They'll be taking place in March. We're gonna adhere to the morning and evening schedule. That seemed to be good feedback. So Liz is or has published the invites for the sessions on the calendar. So we welcome and we invite everybody to please go out. We would love to host you at our next coffee chat.
Becky, how long was it? Was it an hour?
It was an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an hour.
2 1-hour sessions.
Correct.
2 separate. Correct. The purpose of doing this too, the board has discussed doing coffee chat for quite some time. Becky is the one that kind of headed this up. This is an opportunity to talk to the board because again, at the board meetings, when you come to call to public, we just listen because the purpose of our board meetings is to conduct business. So for the coffee chats, it's a chance for you, hey, talk with some board members, ask questions, communicate, just to kind of get some misinformation maybe or perspectives, just different things overall, and ask questions.
Yeah.
If I were to make one suggestion, it would be to make sure that there's a clear distinction between board members and board meeting and a coffee chat, because
There was.
if you're good,
Yes.
because if you're at a coffee
Right.
chat, you are not a board member, you are
Right.
a member of the public
Correct,
who happens to be a board member.
right, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
there's,
there was not a quorum present.
well, even if there was,
Right.
it wouldn't
Well, right.
really matter, everyone would still
Right.
just be.
Yeah, and we did reiterate that,
Yes.
and I think everybody understood that, and I don't think the expectation, I didn't get that impression that the expectation was that.
The board received correspondence with a suggestion that maybe these might be viewed as more inclusive rather than, exclusive rather than inclusive. And a couple suggestions that were made, which I thought were good ones, is maybe the board could entertain the notion of having either a special meeting for just feedback, no agenda, but just open it to the public and get feedback and listen. Same agenda.
Same concept.
And or doing some surveys over topics, that we are dealing with these books. I'd like to get more feedback because strategic plan, as we know, it never even came up in our strategic plan. So if we wanted to, get the public's perceptions, there's so many tools to do that. And then more people could be a part of it rather than somebody who has the ability to take an hour of their time and come into the library. So I think it's really important that we as a board do that.
Would we be asking them to take an hour of their time to come in if we're doing just an open forum feedback?
Yeah, but not the survey.
I actually was gonna suggest surveys, and I said that to you, and I wanted to at our meeting last time, but we ran out of time. So I thought, well, maybe we'll venture, look at it next time.
Is it there, the person?
Or community knowledge.
Right, yeah. But the purpose of this as well, I need to again commend Becky for spearheading this. It is an opportunity for the public to come and talk and to do that. It's a first step. We've not done that, and I guess, how did it back in maybe 18 or 17, they might have done like a coffee chat type of thing, or
It was a while.
a while ago. Okay. So I think it's good to do that. Questions, comments? I guess I was kind of out of order on the agenda. Did you want to go back to the minutes, from personnel? Nancy, or
No,
that's
I
already
think we covered
discussed?
it.
We're all good?
Yeah, so
Okay.
long as the committee takes
Yeah.
it back up and.
Okay. Comments from the board? Any comments from the board? Okay. Book challenge process update, okay. Okay, so we have quite a few to discuss here this evening for the book challenge.
As I had done last time, I would like to make the motion after having read almost 30 books, that the board accept the director's position on these books, and we would save ourselves the time of going through each and every one of them. I did not find anything that would meet the criteria of 30-10 inside any of those books that were on the list.
Second, I don't disagree with any of the staff's decisions so far.
So there's a motion on the floor to accept the books after reading them, second by Holly. Like some discussion on that. There were some books, I'll leave the discussion. Before, I kind of wanted to say something before we I got into this motion, but that's okay. I just wanted to say something first. The library board is the final authority on decisions involving retention, relocating, and labeling of materials. The board has removed language from their policies. It states the board has the authority to remove books. The director is the only person that can remove books from the library. As for the book challenges appeal, the board has the authority to retain, keep the books where they're currently at, relocate, move the books to a different section, or label with sexually explicit materials. This is per our policy. This is what the board has been challenged with to do with reading these books. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate that as well. So discussion for this motion on the floor. With some of these books, just my own 2 cents, there were a few that were moved to different sections with votes for the board. So out of these books, there were a few that actually were moved. So, and it does take an awful lot of time, and this was to read these books, totally understand.
I haven't moved any, I labeled one, correct?
Well, you labeled one, excuse me, you labeled one,
I did one of these.
right.
In this, batch.
Which one is labeled?
Not,
I don't remember. I'm sure. it's
magenta,
on your list
something,
now.
yeah, magenta.
Oh, the ones already reviewed, you mean?
Yes, the ones already,
Okay.
yeah, the
Right.
ones already, the ones already reviewed. There was one that was, right, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, both in what we've already discussed and the staff has read so far, I would agree with what the staff has done, included, there was one, I believe, that was moved in this grouping that I read that I think was appropriate. So, I think we've got 170.
Yes, to that end, I would like to raise the same question I have raised before at the onset of this, well, somewhere in the middle of this whole process. We have all spent 1,000,000 hours on this topic. And now with the reading of the books, it has really added that much more time. I'm sure everybody's feeling it. If you check the box that you have read the whole book, I mean, you have to read the whole book. So I would like to suggest that maybe going forward, there's nothing in 3010 that the way it's written currently that would preclude having the committee do the review of it, and maybe we rotate or something, so that it doesn't have to be each one of us that's reading all 220 books. And what I would suggest is that the members of that committee could flag the books that they have issue with and bring them to the entire board's attention, in which we would then read them. And then we would make a determination about them.
Like
It's
what-
just an
what-
idea.
Just a question, what committee, like form a new committee? Just-
Well, you could form a new committee, or it could be the committee that 3010 came out of, which is community relations.
So any books that would be flagged as a concern would still be read by,
Correct.
okay, yeah, because I'm not comfortable voting on anything.
Yeah.
Right now, there's a motion on the floor that probably.
Well, the members of that committee would, yes. Somebody
This
I
is
thought
the
you were
second-
saying,
this
like,
is the second
some
item.
in finance would read some.
It's the second item.
Well, that could work too. I guess I'm sort of begging the bigger question, and which I have from day one. Where are we going with this? You know, when we started this, I was hoping that the board would be able to identify what the goals are at the end of this year process. And we're approaching April, which is the time for 3010 to be reviewed. And honestly, I am really lost as to where we're going with this as a board. I mean, what has been our goal? I mean, are we hoping to take X percentage of books that have come to our attention from members of Bill's church that we have
Excuse
to
me,
read? And
excuse
they're
me, it's not
mostly-
just members from my church.
well, the list came from a person.
From a person, right, but my understanding
Excuse
is it's people from multiple churches in the area.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
Anyway, if the books all have to do with sexuality and with adolescent angst, and the majority have really, many of them are most innocent, and some of them are sweet stories. But some, I mean, I just would like to have a discussion as to where we're going with this, because I'm not feeling like the board has a sense of where the end game is here.
Well, the board voted, when the policy was coming forward to do this, the board voted to read the books, to read each and every book, and then the board votes per person. That's how the board voted. So that's why we're kind of going through this process with reading the books. So that each board member would say, retain, move, relocate, or label.
My original question, if I can interject, was the appeal was not check if there's sexually explicit material in it. The appeal was remove the books, and you could just vote to not remove them because you can't. But I mean, you said what you wanted to do, but we're now checking for something that wasn't in the appeal or the original challenge.
Isn't that what she wanted when you all met with her?
I met with
Didn't
her.
she,
But I don't
I
know.
thought that she specified, I don't know. I wasn't at that meeting, but I.
When we met with the patron, there was one patron representing the group.
Yes.
So just like we met with her, her initial attempt was to have them reviewed. With speaking with her, she understands that we cannot, the language it has changed to not remove the books from the library. So therefore to retain, relocate, or label.
That wasn't what she asked for. She asked you to put them in adult and label them as gender ideology and sexually explicit, all of them. So checking carefully if there's explicit sex. At the meeting you missed, Bill, at the special meeting, I suggested that you could wait, you could accept what we did and then bring me, you know, if there's one or two, and I will reassess and move it if it's appropriate. Because and I don't want to save your work, because I did it and the staff did it, but I don't think we're reaching the goal.
I guess the question is, what is the goal? Is the goal just that we read all of the books?
Right.
Or if what are we trying to learn from reading all of the books?
Well, the goal was to either relocate, retain, or label the books.
As per
reading-
the policy,
reading
but that
the
wasn't
books.
the request by the patron. And that's not how I answered it to the patron.
Right, but the decision has been made for all of those, right? Like they've all been retained, relocated, or labeled.
Right,
So-
but whatever the point of initiation was, the board made a decision to act in a certain fashion, and so it's really pointless in terms of what the original intent of the patron was, because the board acted.
It is pointless.
It is, the board
Yeah.
acted.
I mean, that's kind of the conversation, like, we can change a vote, right? Like, we voted, we put in dozens of hours at this point, it'll be hundreds of hours per person, so thousands of hours. The book challengers didn't actually read the books, right? They read
They read
detailed
the
summaries,
summaries from
which is
the
on
web.
all of the challenge forms, so, if we're gonna read the books, I
I
will
spoke
read
with one of the
books.
challengers, they said they read every single one of them.
Well, on the form, it says
That's great.
detailed summary.
Did you meet with them here?
No,
Okay.
I asked him here, but not,
Who was it? Can you share their name?
not gonna share the name.
Okay.
If
So
they
I'm
wanna- if
working
they
on
wanna-
the
if they wanna
paperwork that
tell
I
you
have.
who they are, they can do so.
Anecdotally, it doesn't matter.
It really doesn't,
Yeah. So,
because the board made a decision.
yes.
And we can make.
And they never change their minds. I just
Yeah.
vote on the thing on the floor, because I think we're not accomplishing it.
Right, call the question, please.
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion on the floor, I would like, is there any more discussion on this?
Call the
I want to
question,
hurry up, you want to call the question?
call the question.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to accept the books as they are, by the director, and it was seconded by,
Nancy.
motion by Nancy, seconded by. So the motion by Nancy, second by Holly, to not read the remaining books, but to accept the director's decision. Is that correct?
Sure.
Okay. I'd like to roll call vote this. Bill?
No,
Holly?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Kim?
No.
Becky?
No.
And I am a no. Motion doesn't pass. So, the board is going to continue reading books here, and to go through and vote as to where they seem to be fit. So if we could go on with this, if everybody, the first one will be As the Crow Flies. The whole board has read that book.
Be making motions on these individuals.
So this will be,
Or is it just a discussion? Or-
so just, okay, so again, the choices for these would be to retain, to relocate, or to label. So any comments, questions, or As the Crow Flies?
Yeah, I'd say routine.
Are you doing motions? That was the question, or did you want to just discuss each one?
So we kind of have to go through each one. So I would just say the more, how many, okay, last time we just voted. So, retain, how many, retain? Okay, Holly, retain, Bill, I'm sorry, Holly, Nancy, retain, I'm sorry. Bill?
move,
I'm sorry. Move to,
move to
Relocate?
relocate. Okay. Kim,
Routine.
this was as a,
No,
oh, I'm sorry.
Four, that's okay, no,
Okay,
just,
Becky,
Retain.
and I'm to retain As the Crow Flies as well. So As the Crow Flies, it's retained. Next one would be Rick. We'll go to move that to adult section.
Can you share one?
Rick, for content,
Okay, but what content, like specifically?
I have to go and get my notes, I have those.
There was nothing violent and no sex in the books, so I need clarification on what was the concerning content.
For me, it was the overall content, and that's my comment for that, one, for moving it to the adult section.
So, but what content? Like, if we're gonna vote on something, what is the sexually inappropriate or sexually explicit content? Because that's what the document is, right? If that's what we're asking.
No, I'm not saying I'm not voting to put a sexually explicit label. The board has before them to retain, relocate, or to label.
Right.
And I am choosing
So what is
to move it to the
your
adult section
justification for moving?
for the content.
But that doesn't mean anything. I don't know what you're talking about, the content.
I'll second that motion to move.
So
To
just to be
relocate.
clear that we're going to move books without explaining to the public why.
And I'm explaining to the public, and I'm making it very clear because of the content of the book, the premise,
What is the premise?
the characters, everything like that goes along with it.
What, right? That's not information. That's a broad statement that doesn't tell anybody anything. If you disagree with the book, if something is concerning, then say what is concerning.
I don't have my notes with me for that one yet.
Okay, so let's bring it back next month.
Pardon me, let's bring it up next month then. The next one is dog night.
Retain.
Everyone one.
Yeah, that's okay, I'm just trying to go along here, right? Retain.
I'm saying retain for that one too.
Kim retain,
Mhm.
Bill?
Okay.
Kelly? Yes, for dog retain, and I retain for that. That retain. Grace needs space.
Retain.
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 Are we going to pass?
Nope, retain is trying to.
We are for Darlene.
Okay,
Oh,
I've got,
sorry.
I'll
It'd
give
be
you the,
helpful
I'll
to
give you
have
this,
it,
okay, I have a
yes.
sheet, okay.
We didn't know which ones you were gonna
I'm, Nancy, was that retained?
Yes.
Bill?
Label.
So label Grace needs space for sexually explicit label?
do. That's not one of the options. Content's not one of the options. That is in
Sexually
the
explicit
policy.
He said label.
Yeah,
what
But you're
is-
changing, both of you are changing what we've done the last 3 months. And I'm confused because it's not how I assessed it. I didn't assess it for content because the policy says we can't.
He's not talking about content, he said.
He said content.
He said
So
sexually,
are you
sexually
talking about
explicit.
a sexually explicit?
He said
label?
sexually, he said.
Point of
sexually
Define it.
explicit label.
So which content?
Like really, we can't change midstream here.
No, I agree,
I understand, I didn't hear him say content, I'm
He did.
sorry.
I did.
Okay,
I was just making a suggestion. We probably should get our backup, to start our documentation, and then we'll be able to reference
Look at
our
look at the piece
definition.
of paper you're supposed to turn in. I haven't seen Bill's.
Right, yeah, it might just be helpful, because I know that I didn't keep copies of my own, I probably should have, maybe I'll go forward, but it'll refresh our memory.
okay.
Because part of the requirement of the process is to cite the citation and.
Of sexually explicit content,
Correct.
not just content we don't like.
Right, so we have a document, I agree, we have a documented
Yeah, right.
reference to the answer to the question of our homework.
Okay.
Because this is, the focus is sexually explicit materials
As defined.
as defined by the statutes and everything we've done research on. So that's the exercise.
So do we want to hold off these till we have our notes till the next meeting?
wait, we don't have, none of you have your notes?
I have my notes.
Yeah,
I do.
but they're scribbled.
Right.
Well, if you proceed the way we've been going, you don't need your notes, because you'll know what you're talking about. As long as we don't say content, we can keep going.
But I would say that anything that.
You have to say
there's an
which
argument for the
page.
label,
Read the
Right.
passage, like, I mean,
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right,
That's
and there's
right.
page numbers and there's.
So why don't we vote on, for the ones that we can retain and
yeah, okay, I
get
think
that
that's,
out of the way, and anything else that needs discussion can come back when people come with their.
but there aren't any that everyone will agree.
Well, they're just,
Had a couple.
we just had a couple that we all agreed on.
If you know, I'm having trouble with the spreadsheet, so if there are some, I haven't looked at them.
Okay. So Grace Reed needs space, I vote to retain that as well, so that one is retained. Best liars. Bad dreams.
But I thought you just said you wanted to get your notes, and we were gonna revisit these next time.
well, the way I'm interpreting it, if we can vote, let's vote. If there seems to be discussion and we need to retrieve our notes because the process is sexually explicit and identification of the passages that say, because that needed to be identified when a sexually explicit, it was identified to contain sexually explicit material or language. So if there's discussion and somebody needs notes, fine, but if we can vote, I think that's all.
So do people want to wait, do you want to wait for your notes?
That's, I said keep going.
I have my notes.
I have-
Yeah, I said keep
Okay.
going. But
Okay, so bad dreams,
retain.
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 Bill?
yeah,
Relocate. Story's about a trans alien, takes a team to a drag bar, which is illegal.
Is there sexually explicit content in it? As defined by you with the policy we picked. The policy says it's not about content that we disagree with. As you wrote the policy, Bill, this isn't a game.
Why should I didn't like the policy.
You were certainly in the room.
We agree.
So are we going with majority vote?
I
Okay.
said
Well, yeah,
So, yeah, so that's a retain.
cheer up,
Which one?
cheer up,
Retain.
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 cheer up is retained.
Is it?
There's four,
So we're not
Holly.
going to vote if we
Holly,
disagree?
Nancy, no, I didn't, Bill, cheer up. It had a majority vote.
right, as a majority vote, but that will go on record as relocate.
Yeah, let Bill go on record.
Yeah. Thank you.
About engineering, what did you think?
That one retained. Liberated,
Retain.
Retain.
I'm a retain for that one.
Remember?
I don't
remember that one, to be honest with you, but, so, obviously,
World War II
that's okay.
story.
World War II.
Yes, it was in the whole world. But I'm so many, right?
If you can't
Bill?
remember, then it's routine,
Right.
because you remember this,
Bill,
right?
deliberated.
I will. Majority.
Sorry, there's only some, okay. Kisses for Jet, that's currently in the adult section. There's nothing else that we can do with that one. I vote to retain it where it's at.
Good. Retain.
And that is, well, there's only one more that everyone has all read. Harley Quinn. Retain. I have retained that.
I had more on my list, according to your, maybe email list, but it's okay, I think today. Beautiful something else.
Right, I like my notes on that one.
Okay.
Retain.
So those are the ones for this evening.
Okay.
Pardon me? So moving ahead here, for the next meeting, we would, the rest of the ones that have not read, if it would be okay to go through some of these other ones in March. I hate to add new books at this point, because we haven't gotten through some of the November books. Is that acceptable for the board?
Yes.
At this point, and not to add new books, is that?
So for next month, everyone will come with their papers, so we can get through it, because there's a lot more on here that you have done. You're just not prepared to talk about it?
I don't have my page numbers with me for some of these, yes, that is correct.
We could grab them right upstairs, right?
Yeah, but for purposes from what the board just said, and there's some more that we can add to next month as well. Okay? Comments from the board, any other comments at this point? Call the public, I have one person for call the public. Two, okay. When addressing the board, you address the board as a whole. Keep in mind that libel and slander are not protected speech under the U.S. First Amendment because they are forms of defamation and legal action can be taken. You have Janet Johnson.
Johnson, yeah.
Johnson.
I'll try to give you the.
From Brighton, okay, all right.
Yeah, okay, public libraries are for everyone, every child, every adult.
Okay, see, okay,
Oh,
sorry.
everyone. Okay, the First Amendment protects the right of individuals to receive, to read, and to access information and ideas established by, and this is established by Supreme Court rulings. So libraries are recognized as key institutions for exercising the freedom to read and access information. I am therefore, of course, opposed to all attempts to limit or restrict my access, as well as the access of all individuals, whether they be a 6-year-old or a 13-year-old or a 30-year-old or a 90-year-old. Things such as sequestering books, moving youth books and juvenile books into adult sections or behind the librarian's desk and putting a label on it so everybody in the library knows what issues you got. That is not protecting my right to privacy, and it doesn't make it easy for people to receive and access the information. I was hoping that the board would say, you know what, we've read all these books, we only had maybe 1 or 2 that was, you know, could be restricted, and then just say it's a waste of time. You can always change your opinion and say, you know what, we looked at this once, Sarah looked at it, the board looked at it, and now like, we want to move on to other things. I think the board's got other better business to do, making our library, accessible to everyone. So, thank you.
Okay. I want to begin by saying this. I would be standing here even if this censorship effort targeted materials I personally disagreed with. I believe in intellectual freedom. And I understand that once we allow censorship in one area, it threatens that freedom for everybody. I've said it before and I'll say it again. This ongoing effort is a misuse of resources. For months, time and energy that could be going towards programming, literacy, initiatives, and uplifting our library has instead been consumed by its review. This does not represent the broader public. A small minority should not be setting policy for an entire community. History does not look kindly on efforts to restrict access to books. Libraries have long stood as institutions of intellectual freedom and equal access. That is the legacy this board should be protecting. It's never too late to correct course, to do the right thing. You have the opportunity tonight, and I hope you'll take it the next time it's presented. I also have a question because in my last couple of calls to publics, I've put forth 3 direct questions and I've emailed them to the secretary. I was under the understanding that they would be addressed tonight. So I'm just confused why that's not the case. They were questions around why a special meeting was held last minute about a topic that had a lot of public interest where decisions were made. I'm also curious about the Lapeer library lawyer that was presented that has religious ties. So why are we looking into that as a library? And then if you could explain the difference between sexually explicit and sexual content, I think that would be helpful for this review.
So let's go into public. Agenda items for our next meeting.
We've got all the policies that we send back, and then the personnel will have a number of others. I want to add 3020 to the community relations review. It's out of order. It's the internet use policy, but I have an interest in reviewing it this month because we have a lot of teens here after school, and currently we're not letting them use guest passes if they don't have a card. But we're not letting them do other things, and we're basically making it so they can do nothing, and then we're annoyed when they're bored. So I want to review the policy to see if I'm enforcing it correctly, and I've sent it for review to the lawyer. And there are ways to change what we're doing to give them more access within limits. So I just wanted to put that out there that I'd love to go over it, and I didn't want you to be surprised. I'll have it until before the meeting, but I don't think it's fair to not give them guest passes, even if we're restricting access.
I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
So that, and also that read 8004, 8013, 8015, back to committee,
In the
along with the updated card.
And then 5, 6, and 7, 8005, 6, and 7. They're just in the regular cycle.
Right.
I think that should be it.
As well as.
Should we also add an ad hoc update?
Yes, and we should schedule a ad hoc meeting. Just kind of under the box about meetings, so I'll reach out and set that date.
The meeting dates as well, per the usual, per the committees, do we set those now, do you want to email?
The dates are there,
Dates are-
we should check them if they're right, because sometimes we copy from them. So the 5th is correct, the 11th is correct, the 10th is correct. Yeah, the dates are correct, and we'll add an ad hoc meeting as needed.
What time did we decide, are we keeping it at 4:30 for the personnel? Was it 4:30?
Yes, will that work?
That's fine with me, okay, it's just not on here, so.
4:30. Right, sorry, 4 o'clock. I didn't know.
Yeah, community relations, community relations is at noon, and finance, we'll discuss, but it says 4:30 via Zoom, which I think will work.
Board of trustees, 7:30.
And the other one is to
Is there a motion on the floor to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, by Bill, second by Howard.